Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. My brothers and sisters, Ya Ali Madad. My name is Asif Adatia, and I am the chairman of Focus Humanitarian Assistance Europe. Thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time today to update you on some of the life-transforming work that Focus is involved with in helping the most vulnerable members of our Jamaat across the globe. This last year has affected us all in many different ways. It has brought about immense uncertainty, anxiety, and change to our lives. It's affected our livelihoods, our children's education, and the health of our families. Looking to the future, we in the UK and Europe have much to be optimistic about. And inshallah, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Unfortunately, for many of our brothers and sisters in the Jamaat, the pandemic continues to add to the uncertainty and suffering of many families. Families that were already facing hardship and difficulties through no fault of their own. Whether it's civil war, natural disasters, or economic uncertainty, Focus has been a lifeline to so many over the last 25 years. Yes, this marks our 25th anniversary. Focus has reached many milestones in the past 25 years. A significant one was in 2016 when Focus established a partnership with the Aga Khan Agency for Habitat, who have continued to build on the superb work in emergency management that Focus has done in Afghanistan, India, Pakistan, and Tajikistan. Tonight, we wanted to share a few stories and updates with you about how your support is making such a positive impact to the lives of so many.
Suffering at the front line of climate change, Pakistan is amongst the top 10 countries most exposed and vulnerable to the increasing frequency and intensity of natural disasters. The harsh northern mountainous areas, home to some of the most poverty-stricken, disadvantaged, and isolated populations, are particularly vulnerable to these rising threats. Here, the vicious cycle of poverty is often reinforced by natural disasters.
तो मर्ज़े कोई 5-6 घंटा अंदर तो हर अंगोज़ की हाज़मीन में ख़त्म होते दम जो खून इगाते और हम जो खून बदरगीरन होते पोज़मान इसका गौर तो रोख होते कुछ मतलब चीज़ की शपीक सिस्टम तो यूम सिस्टम तो हर चीज़ ने खिंगने वास्ते डायरेक्ट उसको रम सिलाव चीज़ होते ख़त्म होते.
For the first time in Pakistan, the Aga Khan Agency for Habitat has pioneered an approach of proactively conducting hazard, vulnerability, and risk assessments, HVRAs, in extremely disaster-prone regions. This unique approach creatively integrates and leverages science, technology, and local indigenous knowledge for efficient and sustainable habitat planning and development interventions, thereby securing the lives and livelihoods of these vulnerable communities, as well as building their capacity and empowering them for emergency preparedness and response. The HVRAs have become a cornerstone of diverse habitat and disaster risk reduction-related interventions, helping vulnerable communities build resilience against disasters through better preparedness, mitigation, and response. The HVRAs lay the groundwork for advancing context-specific, community-based disaster risk management. Based on the extensive multi-hazard mapping, ACA Pakistan has developed and consolidated an extensive mechanism encompassing a network of community-based and gender-inclusive response teams, community emergency response teams, CERTs, search and rescue teams, SARTs, and disaster assessment and response teams, DARTs, ACA regularly trains these response teams and provides them equipment and relief supplies for community-managed stockpiles.
ईजी एक्सेस हमारे एरिया में नहीं है, इसीलिए हमें आका ने इस तरह ट्रेन भी किया भाई कि कहीं डिज़ास्टर हो जाए तो हम क्विक रिस्पांस करते हैं उसके।
कोई भी डिज़ास्टर हूँ, मैन मेड डिज़ास्टर हूँ या नेचुरल डिज़ास्टर हूँ, तो वहाँ पे जो फर्स्ट क्विक रिस्पोंडेंट होते हैं वो मकामी जो वॉलंटियर्स है उन्होंने काम करना होता है। खान एजेंसी फॉर हैबिटाट की जानिब से वक्तन फ़वक्तन हर हवाले से सर्च एंड रेस्क्यू के हवाले से भी ट्रेनिंग मिली है, इसमें हमें इंफॉर्मेशन के हवाले से भी मिली है, एडमिन एंड लॉजिस्टिक के हवाले से भी मिली है। उसके अलावा फ़र्स्ट एड का भी जो ना ट्रेनिंग वक्तन फ़वक्तन मिलती रहती है और उन्हीं ट्रेनिंग की बदौलत हमें ऐसे मौके पे जब भी कोई भी डिज़ास्टर हो तो हमें वहाँ पे जाकर अपना रोल प्ले करना होता है, तो जिसके लिए अदारा हमें पहले से तैयार करता है।
The HVRAs provide critical inputs to shape better disaster response interventions. For example, post-disaster, ACA uses the HVRAs to identify safe areas to house or relocate displaced people, providing them winterized tents, temporary shelters, and permanent housing support. ACA Pakistan closely engages relevant government departments and academic institutions to ensure synergies are achieved in knowledge and resource sharing on issues of habitat improvement. The National Disaster Management Authority, NDMA, has recognized, encouraged, and incorporated HVRAs as a best practice measure into its interventions. ACA Pakistan regularly shares key skills, insights, and lessons around HVRA with relevant governmental and non-governmental organizations in national development and disaster risk reduction forums to expand access to this tool to improve overall development planning in Pakistan. ACA is committed to continuing its unique approach to disaster risk management that ranges from systemic risk identification and community preparedness to humanitarian response, early recovery, and rehabilitation, helping communities progress from disaster preparedness and response to sustainable development.
The Khan Agency for Habitat aims to achieve the goal of creating resilient habitats where communities are not only safe but they see a future for themselves, they thrive in those habitats.
Yali Milad. My name is Al-Rahim Musa, and I'm the Senior Program Officer with Focus Humanitarian Assistance, currently based in Beirut, Lebanon. I had the privilege to work in Syria from 2015 to 2019, and I'd like to share with you today some of the work that Focus has done and continues to do in Syria. As you know, Syria has been in a state of war for the past 10 years, and since 2013, Focus has been supporting the Jamaat and the communities in which it lives, primarily in Salamieh district. Salamieh is located in central Syria and is home to approximately 120,000 Ismailis. But by 2014, that number had swollen to about 250,000 due to the displacement of civilians from all over Syria seeking safe haven from the war. Focus worked with the National Council for Syria on two fronts. The first was humanitarian assistance, in which Focus funds were used to provide essential goods and services to the most vulnerable 10,000 households. This included grants to cover the cost of rent for Jamaat that were in need of shelter, subsidies for healthcare costs, especially expensive surgeries and medication, food baskets, which included ingredients to last a family for 1 to 3 months at a time, which were especially important when access to the market was disrupted by violence, and clothing, textbooks, and stationery for children to allow them to continue attending school during the crisis. The second front was emergency management, and although Salamieh was a safe haven for tens of thousands of people from all over Syria, it was not immune to attacks, including car bombs, rocket and mortar attacks, and incursions by violent actors into Jamaati villages and towns. Focus and the Council created evacuation plans to move vulnerable Jamaat out of harm's way to safe areas, which involved procuring high-capacity vehicles, communications equipment, and coordination plans to move the Jamaat at short notice. Focus funds were also used to establish first responder teams throughout the country, including first aid, search and rescue, and casualty transportation teams, designed to respond to incidents, provide aid on site, and safely move affected persons to a medical point for further care. Over 600 responders have been trained to date, covering all areas that the Jamaat resides. Today, focus funds are being used to provide cash grants to the Jamaat to enable them to purchase basic goods during a challenging economic crisis that Syria is enduring. At the same time, efforts are underway to raise awareness amongst the Jamaat of the risks of landmines and other unexploded ordnance, which pose a serious risk to Jamaat that are seeking to return to villages and towns that they were displaced from over the past decade. We know that peace is on the horizon in Syria, and as that day comes, on behalf of Focus, a sincere thank you for your ongoing support to allow us to do what we do to support the Jamaat in Syria. Ya Ali Madad.
Hi, hello, merhaba, selam, selamu alaikum, namaste, hey son, willkommen. I have just greeted you in many languages that our Jamaat in Europe speak. As we are becoming a large and diverse community in this continent, we need to get used to hearing different languages. Dear Jamaat, Ya Ali Madad. My name is Hazar El-Kasser and I am Program Officer with the European Settlement Program. During the last 5 years, the numbers of Murid increased rapidly in Europe, as many people were displaced due to conflict and war, the majority of whom are from Syria and Afghanistan. As you can imagine, it's hard to start a new life in a new place from scratch. Resettlement is a multidimensional and tough process as refugees navigate the complexities of settling in a new homeland. In order for the newly arrived Jamaat to successfully settle in Europe, it was realized by the institutional leadership that a dictated assistance is required. Therefore, the program office was activated to support the Jamaat on all matters related to obtaining legal status, housing, education, including national language, training, early childhood, schooling, and employment. We use a case-based approach to improve the chances of the Jamaat attaining a stable and good quality of life and attaining financial self-reliance. And when a case faces an obstacle or setback in the settlement process, a safety net of financial and non-financial assistance is provided to overcome the challenges and continue forward. The program office partners with internal service providers, essentially the national councils, boards, and portfolios, and external service providers, including local NGOs, government agencies supporting refugee integration. The program office has a presence in Germany, Sweden, Netherlands, Austria, Greece, France, Turkey, and Belgium. Through the support of the Jamaat in the UK, Murids in Europe have been able to make great steps in their settlement journey. Over 70% of the Jamaat has legal status. 60% has suitable housing. 60% has a good level in the national language. The next phase of their journey will entail a pathway to economic stability, be it by attending post-secondary institution, vocational training, small businesses, startups, or employment. If you come across a murid in settlement process, please appreciate the journey in which they currently are and keep motivating them to achieve their dreams and goals. Thank you, and Ya Ali Madad.
Thank you for watching, and we hope it gave you some insight into some of the work that Focus is involved with. None of this would be possible without the continued support and donations from the Jamaat, and we want to thank everyone who has supported our efforts over the last 25 years. Your generosity is directly impacting the lives of our brothers and sisters globally. It has been a difficult year for our Jamaat here in the UK and Europe. But if you are able, we ask in humility, please continue to support us in our projects. They remain so vital, so critical to the safety and upliftment of so many of our brothers and sisters around the world. Donations can be made online at focus-europe.org, or if you would like to donate in any other way, please contact myself or another Focus board member whose contact details can be found in the directory of institutions. Thank you again for your generosity and support, and we wish you a healthy and safe return to a new normal. Ya Ali Madad.